Hello little hoes, my name is Kristen and welcome back to my channel. So last year, right around this time, I did a video on my wish and ditch lists for the year. I thought I might repeat that video this year, show you some of the things I was able to check off my wish list, the new plants that have taken their place, as well as the things that I am going to ditch this year. I am also not going to be focusing quite as heavily on things that are very expensive and unobtainable. I just don't want to focus on the things that I can never get, but rather some things that might be a bit cheaper or I can find and import for a lot less. So those are the things I'm going to be focusing on this year. So I'm going to start with my ditches, and I did do a huge purge this summer, fall-ish, and got rid of and rehomed a ton of plants. So check that video out if you wanted to see what some things are that I was just done with, wanted to get out of my collection and make room for new plants. But as of right now, there are a few things that still just I'm on the fence about and might get rid of this year. And I have my notebook down here. So if you're wondering why I'm staring at my crotch, it's because it's actually a book. Not that my crotch is a book, but this book is down here. I will repeat myself from last year. No more calathea, no more ferns. I have literally killed or almost killed the remaining ferns in my collection. My rabbitfoot fern had an awful outbreak of scale this spring, and I did try and nuke it, but it was so infested I didn't even want to bother. And if it gets it that readily, I don't know that I even want to reintroduce it into my collection, even though I did find that rabbitfoot is generally a very easy one. Also, Phlebodium aureum, or blue star fern, it started out looking great and slowly declined. I'm not sure if where I have it is just not very conducive to its happiness. It's in the bathroom, so it should be humid enough. It's in lower light though, and part of me thinks maybe the pot is a little too deep for it. So maybe it's staying too wet too long. I'm not sure. I'm kind of over it. I've given it quite a bit of a chance to recover. I might at some point move it over the next couple weeks into a brighter situation, see if that improves it. But honestly, if it doesn't make it, or in a few months I'm just done with it, probably get rid of it. I am also kind of over really large plants. I don't have unlimited space. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. Big plants that are fast growing just take up so much space that could be devoted to growing a lot of little plants. Two of those plants that are kind of on my ditch list at the moment are Bird of Paradise, which hopefully I can find a new home for. It is the white form, which I believe will get quite a bit bigger than the orange. It's just taking up a lot of space. I don't have enough sunlight for it or space in my sunnier areas. Also, unfortunately, my fiddle leaf fig, it was looking tremendous and I did like it quite a bit, but I had to move it into the living room, which is a lot shadier over the summer. It quickly got some leaf spots, and now I'm just deciding if it's worth keeping or not. I love the big leaves on it. It really creates some cool texture in your house. But for me right now, it's taking up a lot of space, and I might want to change out some of this and, put a little love seat in, maybe another little shelf instead. So we shall see. Dieffenbachia, I've never been crazy about them, but I really loved the look of the camouflage Dieffenbachia, so purchased one early last year. It is very unimpressive. It has taken forever to grow, and no matter where I put it, it just doesn't seem to want to grow faster. Also, my mandarin plant, which is a chlorophytum, I believe, in the spider plant family, another incredibly slow grower, and it is surprising since spider plants grow so fast. Mine really hasn't. I'm giving it more of a chance. It might pick up and grow over the summer, but I'm not holding my breath. It also seems to do this thing. I'm not sure if it's normal for this plant or not. You guys tell me, but it will just drop a bunch of leaves. They'll turn black, they'll drop off, and a slow amount of new growth will take its place. So not hugely impressed with this guy. It's still very cool looking, but growth slow. Also, this is going to be incredibly broad, but very humidity needing plants. And I talked a little bit about this in my last pot up video, that certain things in my collection are just doing less than impressive because they are so needy of humidity. And if they are in anything less than perfect or high humidity, they don't come out looking great, i.e. the leaves are distorted and don't emerge properly. So those guys I'm kind of, I'm not going to get rid of right now, but I'm also not going to be actively seeking philodendrons that I know probably require more humidity. Also, Cissus discolor, I have it sitting right here next to me, and it's another one that really requires high humidity. And since I took it out of the bathroom, it has done terribly. I might keep it and put it out on the front porch or something come spring, summer, and just have a cool patio plant. But I wouldn't buy this again knowing what I do. Or, I would put it in a terrarium, a large terrarium, instead of just trying to grow it as a general house plant. Now I'm going to move on to the plants that I was able to check off my wish list this past year. First two, I was really interested in getting some of the more velvety syngoniums. I believe I mentioned both Raii and Wendlandii. I was able to get both of those this year, which I wasn't expecting. I just really wanted Raii primarily. Got both of them, love them both. And you guys will know, last week I think I had Wendlandii as my number 2 favorite plant of 2020. Monstera stanleyana cobra, or variegated, I got that at the plant farm. I also got a yellow form cutting from Julia, which is, it's been doing so-so. It has put out 1 root since I got the cutting, but not a whole lot. I also got Philodendron hastatum, Philodendron Florida Ghost, which is my favorite plant of 2020, and Mamey. Now, Mamey is one of those plants that might sort of be on my ditch list. I really love it and want to see it grow and mature, but it's just so needy with the humidity that I can't really keep up. And even in my grow tent, it hasn't done a lot. So kind of on the fence with that one, but I did check it off my list. So hopefully it does better 2021. I was able to get Cissus amazonica, which I planted in my terrarium, and quite frankly, it's overtaken quite a bit and I need to cut back. Anthuriums, I had a few on my list, and I did cross off the crystallinum, which I really love quite a bit, even if it does rip terribly and get holes in them, I imagine, from, needing more humidity than it's getting. I got a Monstera albo, which I like, but it is also a plant that reminds me not to fall into fads, because cool as it is, the variegation burns awfully bad and it's quite unattractive, all those brown edges. So I do think that maybe Thai Constellation might be a better plant overall just because of its more diffuse patterning for the variegation instead of large chunks of white pale leaf. I had a lot of different Ceropegias on my wish list. I didn't get any particularly on my wish list, but I did get a couple of others, namely Stapeliiformis and Aristolochoides. I believe I said those correctly. I got 2 of those. So success with them. I still do want to try out a bunch of other. On to my wish list, and do want to say that I'm not going to be focusing on some of the super rares, but rather things that are a little bit more obtainable for me and my budget. My wish list is constantly changing. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I tend to have a rotating opinions about plants. This week I may love something and really want it, try my best to find it, and then next week it might fall in my favor and a new plant has taken its place. I don't want to focus too much on it, but I did get a cutting of a variegated Monstera Adansonii in an Instagram giveaway, and I killed it. I don't know that it's necessarily all my fault because the plant was literally just one node and took months and months and months and months without doing anything. So I think it was just so small and lacked so much energy that it eventually just rotted. Not going to focus on that because I'm still quite heartbroken. I would love to get my hands on another one someday, but again, it's a someday plant. One plant that I've seen quite a bit on Instagram, and I just love the look of it. I'm sure it's well out of my price range, but I think it's cool and it might be a one-day plant, is the variegated Homalomina. And I will show you pictures of this beauty, and it has stolen my heart with that variegation. It's just so incredible. I have never grown Homalominas. I'm not quite sure how one goes about growing Homalominas. I think that it's probably another plant that likes a little bit more even humidity. Now, how much humidity? Not sure. If you guys have grown them, I would love to hear your comments about them. I will start with the philodendrons. Some of these guys I think are going to be a little bit more pricey since philodendrons are so damn popular nowadays. But I do foresee myself doing more imports this year, which obviously will mean they're quite a bit less, even with shipping, than if I were to try and get them just in the US. I also won't focus a whole lot on the things that I already featured last year, maybe add some new things. Anything that I didn't get from last year's wish list probably is on there still. Maybe not at the same level, but probably still on there. I really want to get a philodendron tortum as well as philodendron polypoidioides. Those guys are just so lacy and delicate and cool. The poly is more of a recent addition to my wish list. The tortum I've had on there for a while, and I would probably, if I had to choose between getting the two, get the tortum since it has been on there so long. I do want to get some more furry petioled philodendrons. I added fibrosum to my collection this year, and honestly, it's one of the slowest growing, most annoying philodendrons ever. Even more so than mamey. I'm guessing, again, it needs more humidity than I can ever possibly give it outside of building an actual greenhouse for it. Again, I'm hopeful that this spring and the humid months will help it to pop out, but it's been stuck in time for so long, not wanting to grow anymore. I do really want to get my hands on a variegated Florida Beauty. I love the leaf shape. I love the petioles and, of course, the variegation. And I'm so much in love with both my Squamiferum and Florida Ghost, which are somewhat similar, that I do think I might splurge a little bit. A newer one to my wish list is Philodendron Giganteum Blizzard. I love how huge those leaves are and how speckled. I'm not sure where the heck I would put it because that is one of the bigger species of philodendron, but want it, I do. Potentially my number one wish list plant of all, Philodendron Burl Marks Fantasy, and I've been craving this little guy for months now, and I just can't pull the trigger on $200 for it. I'm hopeful that I can find some decently priced cuttings or small rooted plants. I did miss out several times on getting some very decently, if not underpriced cuttings on Mercari. And then winter hit, so I just decided I'm not going to even look until spring, till warmer months. Another aroid on my wish list, and again, it's a big plant. I don't know where I would put it. Maybe switch it out for the bird of paradise I don't like anymore, and that is the Monstera aurea. I believe some might call it Marmorata too. It's the Monstera with the yellow variegation. I really do think I prefer more yellow variegation in plants than I do white. That's just a personal opinion. This is going to be kind of a general wish, but more Dischidias. I have gotten a couple this year and like them a lot. One specifically on my list is Imbridica, and that guy looks like it's almost suction cupping to whatever stake you grow it up. I think it's pretty awesome. I would love to try it and maybe some other species I don't have. Again, pretty general, more Ceropegias. Whatever that I'm able to find offered online. Last year I had Armandii, Simone, and Bosserii on that wish list, and those are probably my top 3 wish lists for Ceropegias, and again, any others I'm able to come across and find. Another generalization, but more Syngoniums. I do have hopefully a few trades pending for this spring with some cool species that I don't have. I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of like the more white leafed Syngoniums or even the pink, be it fully pink or splashed pink. Not super into them. So I do foresee myself collecting more of the species. Probably chief on my list for the Syngoniums is the Steyermarkii, which has some really interesting oak leaf shape to it almost. That is really badass. I've never seen it offered anywhere in the US. Maybe I haven't been searching hard enough. I'm not sure. I hope to find that guy, as well as a reasonably priced variegated Syngonium Wendlandii called Scrambled Eggs. It's a weird name, but I kind of dig it, as well as the plant itself. This might be another plant that I'm not able to get for quite a while. Just based on an eBay listing that I was watching, it got to be several $100s before it finally sold for, I think, $300 or something. So that's way out of my price range. I'm also debating on if I like the look of the Syngonium macrophyllum Frosted Heart. I think I would give it a try, and if I didn't like it, maybe sell it, but it keeps dancing on and off my list, so I'll probably just have to pull the trigger and try it. Sansevierias, and I did cross a copper tone Sansevieria off my list this year. It's doing okay, not amazing, but it isn't dead either, I don't think. I want to get some of the variegated Sansevierias like Bantel's Sensation, Sayuri, and maybe a variegated whale fin, as well as just a plain old green whale fin. I think I need to focus on getting some plants like Sansevieria that do well in difficult areas, because most of the spots that I have left in my house are going to be a little bit darker, a little bit out of the way, and potentially underwatered. It's not rare, just uncommon, but I've been wanting this for my terrarium for a while. I've seen it offered a few places and 2 places locally on and off. I just haven't been lucky enough to snag it before it's sold out. That is the Ficus pumila quercifolia, and this is another one that has almost oak-like leaves to them. They're so miniature and tiny. It looks like a miniature ivy almost, and I am here for it. I think it will be a cool ground cover addition to my terrarium. Apparently they are very humidity needy and very unlikely to grow outside of a terrarium. A plant that I, all in one year, put on my wish list, got, and killed, and I want to try again, and that is the Rhaphidophora decursiva. A lot of people seem to have this and be very happy with it. I want to be one of those people in the future. I also want and I'm sure this is a very obscure species that I'm very unlikely to obtain anytime soon, and that is the Foraminifera. This one is such an exotic looking plant with holes pretty much down the main vein of the leaf. It's incredible. It has stolen my heart, and I'm sure it's going to be years before I'm able to get one. This plant is probably one of my top wish list plants, and has been for a little while. And I can't even remember if I put this on my wish list of last year or not, but that is the Amydrium medium silverform. It has almost like a mirror-like silverness to it, similar to like the Cebu blue epipremnum, but it gets some really cool fenestrations. I'm hoping to get this, again, another import. I found it on Green Spaces ID in the fall, but didn't really want to take my chances importing it because it was so late in the season, and because of the pandemic. The shipping had been delayed quite a bit for a lot of people, so I just decided to take my chances and hope that it's available again this spring. I also think the Amydrium zipliandrium, the zippity-doo-dah Amydrium is kind of cool too. How palm-like the leaves are. I think that would actually make a really cool hanging basket plant to just sort of sprawl and take over and maybe pin up around the room. Also on my wish list from last year that I wasn't able to get, but I'm still on the lookout for this year, is Huperzias. Again, it looks difficult, but I'm up for the challenge. Begonia. Yes, a begonia made it onto my wish list. I'm not saying I'm coming around to being a begonia lover, but there are a couple of species I think are pretty interesting. Begonia blanchii mottled form. There are a number of different forms to this newer species, which I think until the last 5-10 years ago hadn't been either recognized or even discovered. I think the mottled form is stellar looking, and I love the big paddles on it rather than like a typical begonia like leaf. I'm not sure how difficult it is to grow. Again, I imagine I would grow it as a terrarium plant. I haven't really discussed too many cacti. My sunroom is getting pretty full on cacti and succulents, but I do see myself getting into like more orbeas and stapelias and hernias. They're very cool plants with really interesting flowers. And I've also realized I don't have many flowering plants in my collection. And I think those would kind of help round out some of my more succulent-y collections. I would also love a booby cactus and a penis cactus at some point in time. I am not willing to spend a whole lot for them, so again, this might be a little bit down the road. Alright guys, that will do it for today's video. I would absolutely love to hear what your wish list plants are, what you were able to obtain from last year's wish list, and what plants just you think you're gonna get rid of this year, or not collect any more of at least. I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.